Greetings, fellow humans. My name is Alistair Lord. I am the Renaissance Yorkshireman. Today, I'd like to pick off where I left in my last video and talk about some of the solutions to the problem as money as it currently exists at the moment. So firstly, I'm going to do a short recap of some of the criticisms of money as it exists today. And primarily my sources from Thomas Greco are these two books, The End of Money and the Future of Civilization, and Money, Understanding and Creating Alternatives to Legal Tender, both by Thomas Greco. And also I'll be quoting from Donut Economics, 7 Ways to Think Like a 21st Century Economist. And I've mentioned this book on numerous occasions. This is what the economic systems of the 21st century should look like. After my recap of the problems of the financial system as it currently exists, I'll talk about what is often given as the solution by mainstream capitalist economists, which is the market will solve everything. Get more market, it will solve everything. Rubbish. I'll actually talk about some of the real solutions to the problems, some of which will come from Kate Raworth's book, Donut Economics, but also I'll be talking a little bit about the system of copiosis. I'm not going to go into massive detail about copiosis for two main reasons. One is that I have in fact interviewed the creator of the system copiosis, and I will be posting that interview. But also they have a website. You know, I'm quite happy to put these ideas out there, but for anyone who's interested, you have to do your own research. So go and have a look at their website. It's got great material and you can find out about it from their own words instead of me kind of interpreting what they say. So to recap from what I spoke about in the last video, Thomas Greco's criticisms of the financial system and the way that currency is created go something like this. Today, money takes the form of bank credit that must be borrowed into circulation. The main point that needs to be understood is that in order for money to come into circulation, someone must go into debt to a bank. Since banks charge interest on all this debt, and since the money to pay the interest can only come from further debt, debt grows like a cancer within the global economic body. This debt imperative creates a growth imperative, forcing us to destroy the life support systems of the planet. One of the reasons there are so many ecological and environmental problems on planet Earth today is because of the system of money that has been artificially created by a small group of humans. And there's a fundamental problem of their philosophy, and I go into this in one of my previous videos about the 5 capitals framework, particularly about the way that financial capital is valued over natural capital, human capital, and social capital. But here's the thing, the World Economic Forum, who are allegedly offering solutions to our problem, they do not talk about the debt imperative and the growth imperative. And I know this because I've been and read a lot of their documents, and they don't talk about it at all. Now, often they can use the right language, but they're not really getting to the heart of the problem with the system. Their solution is greenwashing and woke washing, and not substantial change. Greco further identifies 3 ways that money malfunctions. 1, it's kept artificially scarce. 2, it's misallocated at source. 3, it systematically pumps wealth from the poor and middle class to the rich. Those 3 things are all absolutely true. And as I said, the World Economic Forum and their neoliberal allies, such as Tony Blair, are not addressing those issues. So they're not really coming up with solutions. But what are some of the solutions that are commonly pushed by mainstream capitalist economists? Well, the main one is markets. Markets, markets, markets. Have more market. That will solve the problem. The market is the solution to all our problems. Okay, so here's the thing about markets. Markets are an economic tool. And the thing about tools is you use them in the situations where they're appropriate and you don't use them in the situations where they are not appropriate. So here I have a tool. This one's called a hammer. Repeat after me, hammer. And this is a different tool. It's got a set of Allen keys. Repeat after me, Allen keys. Now here's the thing. If I want to put up a picture on the wall in my living room, I could use the Allen keys. I could hold it like this and I could bang the nail into the wall. It might work, it might not work. It might end up damaging the tool because this part here is plastic. A far more efficient tool for knocking the nail into the wall would be the hammer. However, if I want to take the back wheel off my bicycle, I would have to use the Allen keys. I could go for the hammer and smack the wheel until it comes off the bike, but probably A, I'm going to take an awful lot longer to get the wheel off the bike, and B, I'm going to damage the wheel. So in that case, the appropriate tool is the Allen keys. Capitalist economists, they're just obsessed with markets and they apply it when it's not an appropriate tool. For example, in education. And I've worked in education systems in the United Kingdom, in Thailand, in Oman, and in Saudi Arabia, and in Spain. And I can tell you from my experience, and I think the vast majority of teachers who I've worked with would agree with me, that bringing markets into education is a shit idea. It's just crap. You know, because the thing about education is you've really got to get into the emotion and the philosophy of it to really understand it. And these market-obsessed capitalist economists, it's just all money. They can't understand anything outside the prism of dollar signs. But that's not what life is about. I mean, did you put a financial value on your mother making you soup when you were ill? Do you know what I mean? Did you put a financial value when your friend came round to help you decorate your living room? I mean, the world is not all about finance. So what are some of the solutions to the problems that we currently have with currency? According to Greco, there are two general strategies to strengthen and protect local communities. 1. Reduce reliance on conventional money and markets. And/or 2. Bring money and markets under local democratic control. Now, these solutions are actually really simple. And the thing about bringing currency under local and democratic control is that implies transparency, which there is not in the system we have at the moment. You know, the way that offshore banking works and tax havens, it's completely opaque. And I would argue that it's like this so that it can facilitate corruption, such as bribe payments and money laundering for drug trafficking. I mean, it just is. I understand that a lot of capitalist economists out there will be like, oh no, the drugs industry is completely separate from our world. Bullshit! I mean, these people are fantasists. Money is made complicated and opaque and not transparent so that a small class can facilitate corrupt transactions and hold power over the masses. I mean, you know, that's just the way it is. Of course, it's not overarching, and money as it exists can sometimes be functional. So it's not all doom and gloom. However, we do need a fundamentally different financial system from the one that currently exists today. Here's a quote from Kate Rowe to support what I say. She says, "Traditional economic policy presupposes that a reliable way to change people's behaviour is to change relative prices. whether through creating markets, assigning property rights, or enforcing regulations. Just get the prices right, a typical economist will tell you, and the rest will follow. Prices certainly do matter, but while prices matter, getting them right is not such a simple solution as it promises to be. 20th century theory has led economists to overestimate the effectiveness of price as a lever and to underestimate the role of values, sense of reciprocity, networks and heuristics. Crucially, the theory overlooks the fact that some things may be put in jeopardy when they are given a price. And here's my criticism of these types of economists. They are ideologues. They don't properly look at the evidence. And the evidence is that prices can be useful in some situations, such as with selling consumer goods. But they are not as good as these people think, and other things are important as well. And if you ignore these very real things, then your system is going to have problems, which is the case today. And I'm going to give you one more quote from Kate Raworth. She says, "Rather than accepting growing inequality as a law of economic development, an inevitability which must be endured, 21st century economists will regard it as a failure of economic design and will seek to make economics far more distributive of the value that they generate. Instead of focusing primarily on redistributing income earned, they will aim to redistribute wealth too, especially the wealth that comes from controlling land, money creation, enterprise, technology and knowledge. And instead of focusing on market and state solutions alone, they will also harness the power of the commons. It's a fundamental shift in perspective and it is well underway." It is a fundamental shift in perspective, and that is absolutely what we need, because it's more than a decade since the economic crisis of 2007 and 2008, and these mainstream economists, they're carrying on with the same models as if it never happened. I mean, are they eating acid for breakfast? I mean, they're just completely out there. As well as thinking in different ways, we need different systems. And one of the systems for creating a medium of exchange is Copiosis. And on their website, copiosis.org, and it's going to be copiosis.com soon, they describe the system of Copiosis thus: whereas capitalism guaranteed the right to life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness, Copiosis also guarantees the right to food, shelter, education and healthcare. But Copiosis is not socialism. It retains the incentives at the heart of capitalism, the idea that if you work hard, you'll be rewarded with nice things. How does it do this without a government getting in the way? Copiosis creates a new kind of organisation called the payer organisation, which is responsible for observing and rewarding activities that create a net benefit. This organisation is open to anyone that wants to be a part of it, while a mathematical algorithm is used to determine how much net benefit a particular action has produced. Members of each local payer organisation may adjust each factor based on the priorities and desires of each local community. In Copiosis, human beings at the local level retain ultimate control over what constitutes a net benefit. In this way, people can cooperate from community and thrive when the planet and other people thrive as well. Copiosis realigns our incentives with doing good rather than simply making a buck any way you can. And here's the thing with Copiosis. It's a local organisation which controls it, not a private banking cartel. And if you're under the impression that the government makes the money which you use on a daily basis, you are wrong. it's a private banking cartel, and they have rigged the system so that it suits them. And if we want to have a system which serves the planet, the vast majority of the human population, and all the fauna on the planet, then we need a democratic and transparent system of money creation. Thank you for giving me your time today. Peace.